He had a great sense of humor. If you've ever read a lot of his jokes and stories, he was the originator of so much of that humor. And it wasn't humor just for the sake of humor. He usually used it to make a bigger point. He also used it to put people at ease. You can imagine how I felt meeting the president for the first time. When people came to meet him, they were obviously pretty nervous sometimes. And he would often use humor to break the ice and to put people at ease and make them comfortable. Even in big meetings, he would use stories that would make a very significant point while maybe using a little humor to do it. So as leaders, we need to realize that humor is an important component. Now, I'm not saying go run out and buy a joke book or anything, but I'm saying you can take the role seriously without taking yourself too seriously. Ronald Reagan was excellent at using self-deprecating humor, making himself the butt of the joke, didn't take himself too seriously, and that allowed people around him to relax. And if the people around him were relaxed, they bring their best work out. I was not terrified that the guillotine was going to fall at any moment working for this man. He surrounded us with such an era of acceptance and appreciation and a sense of humor about things, because not everything went perfectly. Sometimes things actually went wrong, even for the president. And when you were part of that, regardless of how hard you had tried to make everything perfect, sometimes things just didn't go as planned. And he was always gracious to roll with that, to have a sense of humor. And so then, as somebody who works for a man like that, you're not afraid to try something new, to put yourself out there a little bit, to maybe take a chance, because you know that he's got your back. He's gonna live life with a sense of humor. He was a man of incredible respect, whether it was presidents that had come before him or presidents that had come after him. What? He also had great respect for women. He talks about his mother as being the most important person in his early life. Of course, there's so much that's been written about his relationship with Mrs. Reagan and the respect that they had with each other, for each other. Mother Teresa came in to visit the office, and this little tiny woman who he recognized as being a giant on the world stage, he had amazing respect for. And of course, being the first president to put a woman on the Supreme Court with the appointment of Sandra Day O'Connor. That was something he was very proud of. He respected women, he respected their role. And this was many, many years ago, so that wasn't even one of our big issues back then. But it was important to him to show respect. As a young woman working for him, I always felt his utmost respect toward me and his appreciation for the value that I added. He was a man of incredible patriotism. And of course, that's something you would expect from a president, but I can tell you from having been behind the scenes with him all the time, that was not something he just did when the cameras were rolling. So this man was patriotic to the core. How many times do you think he's heard the Star-Spangled Banner, or the national anthem, or any of these other songs being played? When we would have guests come to the office, a lot of times they would perform for him. They would sing for him or play music for him. And you can imagine if you're coming to perform for the president, what are you going to probably perform? Probably going to play patriotic music, right? So here's this man, you know he's heard these songs 1,000 times before, and yet I would watch him. And as the song would start, you'd see him kind of tapping his toe in time, singing along every word to every verse, verses I didn't even know existed. He knew every word. And every now and then you would see him and he would stand up just at attention, out of respect, or put his hand over his heart. Or there were certain songs that were just so beautifully performed, you would look over and actually see tears misting up in his eyes. This is a man who was patriotic to his core. He loved this country. It meant something to him. He felt the honor and the privilege of having served at the highest level of this country. He was proud for what he had been able to represent and proud of what America represented on the world stage. He also used to joke with Mrs. Reagan that he hoped it was okay with her, but there was another woman in his life. And he would always talk about Lady Liberty as being the other woman in his life, which I thought was especially sweet. And he would describe Lady Liberty as being this beautiful, feminine lady who was the beacon of freedom for the world.